The stars looked like tiny white dots against the black of space. Captain Alice Bennett stood on the bridge of the Earthship Defiance. She watched the view screen and thought about their mission. The Defiance was not built for fighting. It was made for learning about space. The ship carried only 30 people and had very few weapons. Earth sent them here to study strange energy readings at the edge of known space. Just another day exploring the unknown, Alice said to herself. She had dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and wore the blue uniform of Earth's Space Force. She had been captain for 5 years. This was her third deep space mission. Lieutenant Daniel Miller sat at his station watching the sensors. He was young with short brown hair and bright eyes. This was his first deep space mission. Everything is quiet, Captain, he said. No unusual readings since... He stopped talking suddenly. His eyes got wide as he looked at his screen. Wait, something's happening, multiple objects appearing around us. Alice turned quickly. Show me. The main view screen changed. It showed the space around their ship. The empty blackness now filled with 12 huge ships. They surrounded the Defiance in a perfect circle. Each alien ship was at least 10 times bigger than the human vessel. Their outer shells shined with a strange, color-changing material that humans had never seen before. They came out of nowhere, Daniel said. His voice shook a little. No warp signatures, no jump points, they just appeared. Nancy Ward, the communications officer, pressed her hand to her earpiece. She was an older woman with gray streaks in her blonde hair. She had been in space longer than anyone else on the bridge. Captain, they're trying to talk to us, she said. Alice straightened her uniform. Put them on screen. The view screen flickered. Now it showed a tall, thin being with skin the color of jade. It had 6 eyes arranged in a pattern across its face. The alien wore something that looked like armor made of the same shiny material as the ships. This is High Commander Zix Tara of the Galactic Hegemony, it said in perfect English. We have been watching your kind for some time. We did not expect to see your ship here. We were waiting for your full battle group. Alice looked confused. She glanced at her crew and saw they were just as surprised. Commander Zix Tara, she said carefully. I am Captain Alice Bennett of the Earthship Defiance. We are a science vessel on a peaceful mission. Earth has no battle group in this area of space. The 6 eyes of the alien all blinked at the same time. That cannot be true. Our information said that humans would send their strongest ships. Our scans show only basic weapons on your vessel. Is this some kind of trick? No trick, Alice said. We're just curious about the universe. We detected unusual energy patterns in this sector and came to study them. The alien turned away from the screen. It appeared to be talking to others that the humans couldn't see. After a minute, it turned back. Very well. According to the rules of the hegemony, we must take your ship to our nearest base for more study. You must come with us. Before Alice could answer, the ship shook slightly. They've locked onto us with some kind of beam, Chief Engineer Frank Rivera reported from his station. It's pulling us toward the largest ship. Alice knew they had no choice. The Defiance's engines weren't strong enough to break free, and their weapons would be useless against ships so large. Understood, Commander, she said to the alien. We will cooperate. The alien nodded once, and the screen went back to showing the stars and the massive ships. Alice turned to her senior staff. I want a meeting in my ready room in 5 minutes. Bring all the data we have on these ships and this galactic hegemony they mentioned. In the ready room, 5 officers sat around a small table. Chief Security Officer Olivia Green spoke first. She was tall and strong with short red hair. They expected a battle group, she said. Why would they think Earth was sending warships? Science Officer Paul Jackson adjusted his glasses. He was thin with dark skin and always spoke in a calm voice. More importantly, how do they know about humans at all? We've never had contact with this species before, he said. And they speak perfect English, Nancy added. They've clearly been studying us for a long time. Frank Rivera, the chief engineer, scratched his beard. Those ships are like nothing I've ever seen. The way they just appeared. That's tech far beyond anything Earth has. Alice listened to all of them before speaking. Whatever is happening, we need to be careful. This hegemony clearly knows more about us than we know about them. They're powerful, and they expected us to be hostile. What do you think they'll do to us? Daniel asked. He tried to hide the worry in his voice. Alice stood up and looked out the small window at the stars. One of the giant alien ships was visible, its strange hull changing colors as they watched. They said they're taking us to their base for assessment. Our job now is to show them that humanity isn't what they expected. She turned back to face her crew. We're explorers, not conquerors. We need to make them understand that. The ship shuddered slightly as the tractor beam pulled them toward the largest alien vessel. We're moving, Frank said, checking his tablet. Based on our current speed, we'll reach their ship in about 20 minutes. Alice nodded. Everyone back to your stations. Nancy, send a message to Earth. Tell them everything that's happened, include all sensor data. Captain, Paul said hesitantly, do you think they'll let the message get through? Probably not, Alice admitted. But we have to try. As the officers filed out, Olivia stayed behind. You realize what this means, don't you? She asked quietly. If they were expecting a battle group, they were ready for a fight. They've been watching Earth planning for war. Alice nodded slowly. Yes, and instead they got one small science ship with 30 people. What do we do? Alice straightened her shoulders. We do what humans have always done when faced with the unknown. We adapt. We learn. And we find a way to turn this situation to our advantage. As they walked back to the bridge, Alice felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Somehow, their small ship had stumbled into something much bigger than a scientific mission. The fate of Earth might depend on what happened in the next few hours. The Defiance moved slowly through space, pulled by invisible forces toward the massive alien armada. Captain Alice Bennett watched on the view screen as they approached the giant ship. She didn't know what waited for them, but she knew one thing for certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. The Defiance was pulled inside the largest alien ship. It was like a small fish being swallowed by a whale. The human vessel looked tiny inside the vast docking bay. Metal arms reached out and locked onto the Defiance, holding it in place. Power, down all systems except life support, Captain Alice Bennett ordered. Let's not give them any reason to think we're a threat. The lights dimmed as the ship went to minimal power. Through the view screens, the crew could see dozens of the jade-skinned aliens moving around the bay. They wore what looked like armor, but no weapons were visible. They're coming to the airlock, Olivia reported, watching the security cameras. Alice nodded. Frank, Daniel, Paul, Nancy, Olivia, you're with me. Everyone else stays on board until we know it's safe. The 6 officers stood at the airlock as it hissed open. 4 tall aliens waited on the other side. Up close, they were even stranger than they had appeared on the screen. Their skin had a slight glow to it, and their 6 eyes moved independently of each other, constantly scanning in all directions. Captain Bennett, one of them said, I am Sub-Commander Vex Nor. You and your senior officers will follow me to the council chamber. The rest of your crew must remain on your vessel. Alice stepped forward. My crew will not be harmed? The hegemony does not harm without cause, the alien replied. It wasn't exactly the answer Alice wanted, but it would have to do. They walked through massive corridors that could have fit 10 humans standing on each other's shoulders. The walls pulsed with soft blue light. Other aliens watched them as they passed. Some looked like the jade-skinned ones, but others were completely different. Beings made of what looked like living stone, creatures that floated rather than walked, and things that seemed to be made of shifting gas contained in mechanical suits. How many different species are part of this hegemony? Paul asked, his scientist's curiosity overcoming his caution. The hegemony includes 43 spacefaring species and protects 62 developing worlds, Vex Nor answered. We have existed for over 50,000 of your Earth years. The humans exchanged glances. Humanity had only been in space for a few hundred years. They entered a massive round room. In the center was a table shaped like a ring. Seated around, it were 12 aliens of different species. At the head sat a large being that looked something like a giant frog with see-through skin. The humans could see organs pulsing inside its body. "Supreme Admiral Krelvox," announced Vexnor. "May I present Captain Alice Bennett and officers of the Earth vessel Defiance." The frog-like being made a rumbling sound. When it spoke, its voice was deep and wet-sounding. "Humans of Earth," it said. "I am Supreme Admiral Krelvox of the Galactic HFY High Command. Your presence here is unexpected." Alice stepped forward. "Admiral, we are a scientific vessel on a peaceful mission. We mean no harm to the hegemony or any other species." The large alien leaned forward. "We have been watching your species for some time. Your rapid development is concerning. You went from simple flight to faster-than-light travel in less than 300 years. No other species in our records has advanced so quickly." Paul spoke up. "With respect, Admiral, many species must have followed similar paths of development." The room filled with strange noises as the aliens talked among themselves. Some made clicking sounds, others hummed, and some seemed to communicate through changing colors. "You misunderstand," Admiral Krelvox said. "What took most species thousands of years to achieve, humans did in mere generations. Our intelligence indicated that you would send a fleet to establish control in this sector. Instead, you send one ship. Explain." Alice was confused. "Earth has no desire to control anything beyond our own system, Admiral. We explore to learn, to understand the universe and ourselves." Olivia was watching the aliens carefully. She leaned close to Alice and whispered, "Captain, I think they're afraid of us." Alice looked around the room again, seeing the aliens in a new light. The hegemony, a coalition of dozens of advanced species, had prepared for war against humans. Now they seemed unsure what to do with one peaceful ship instead of an invasion force. "Admiral," Alice said, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Humanity is young compared to your hegemony. We're still learning our place in the galaxy. We seek knowledge and friendship, not conquest." The transparent admiral studied her with large, bulging eyes. "Your species' history shows a pattern of conflict and conquest among yourselves. Our predictive models indicate a 94% probability that humanity would attempt to expand aggressively once reaching our territory." Daniel stepped forward. "Our history also shows cooperation, Admiral. After our last World War, Earth's nations came together. Space exploration united us like nothing before." "The models have never been wrong before," said another alien. "This one made of what looked like shining crystal." Alice smiled. "Perhaps your models didn't account for everything about humans." The Admiral made a bubbling sound that might have been a sigh. "You will be given quarters while we reassess the situation. You may communicate with your crew, but not with Earth. Any attempt to send messages will be blocked." As they were led away, Frank whispered to Alice, "They really expected us to attack them? Us, against all this?" He gestured at the massive station around them. "They were ready for a war," Alice replied quietly. "A war based on predictions and fear." In their quarters, which were much too large for humans, the officers gathered to discuss their situation. The rooms were comfortable but clearly designed. "For beings larger than humans, we need to convince them we're not a threat," Alice said. Paul looked thoughtful. "They keep talking about models and predictions. They seem to rely heavily on data and probability." "But they got it wrong about us," Nancy added. "Did they?" Olivia asked. "Humans can be aggressive. If Earth had known about the resources and technology out here, who's to say we wouldn't have sent warships eventually?" Alice looked out the large window at the stars. "Our job now is to show them who we really are, not what their models predict, but who we choose to be." "And how do we do that?" Daniel asked. Before Alice could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the station. The room shook slightly. The door opened and Vex Nor rushed in. "Captain Bennett, we have an emergency. One of our primary reactors is becoming unstable. Our engineers cannot contain it. How can we help?" Alice asked immediately. The alien's 6 eyes all focused on her at once. "Help? You would help us?" "Of course," Alice said. "Whatever our differences, we're not going to just sit here while your station is in danger." For the first time, The aliens seemed genuinely surprised. It was clear that this response was not in any of their predictive models. The station shook again, harder this time. Lights flickered in the corridor as Captain Alice Bennett and her crew followed Vexnor through the massive hallways. They could hear a deep, rumbling sound growing louder. "What kind of reactor do you use?" Frank asked as they ran. "Quantum folded energy core," Vexnor replied. "The technology is far beyond your understanding." Frank smiled a little. "Try me." They reached a large control room filled with aliens working at stations. Screens showed a glowing core that pulsed with unstable energy. Red symbols flashed everywhere. "The Weir containment field is failing," said a crystalline alien. "Cascade failure in 27 minutes. We have tried all standard procedures without success." Alice looked at Frank. "Can you help them?" Frank stepped closer to the screens, studying the alien symbols and diagrams. "Maybe. This looks similar to the experimental drive we were testing back home. Different scale, but same principles." "That is impossible," said the crystal alien. "Your species does not possess this level of technology." "We were working on it," Frank said. "Our approach was different, though." "You're trying to stabilize the whole system at once. That's too complex." The station shook again. Alarms grew louder. "Explain," Vexnor demanded. Frank pointed to the screen. "Your reactor is too big to control all at once when it's unstable. We need to section it off, contain the problem areas one by one." "That approach is not in our operational procedures," the crystal alien said. Alice stepped forward. "Your procedures aren't working. Let us try." Vexnor looked at the other aliens, then back at the humans. "Very well. We have little choice." Frank turned to Daniel. "I need your help. We need to create a bypass system." The two men worked quickly at the alien controls. The other aliens watched with all their eyes, some blinking, in confusion at the humans' approach. "They're not following the proper sequence," one whispered. "Their methods are random," another said. Paul smiled. "Not random. Creative." Frank and Daniel worked together, trying different approaches when one failed. They weren't following a set plan but adapting as they went. "Now," Frank said after 15 minutes of work, "try it." The crystal alien activated the new sequence. The rumbling sound began to fade. On the screens, the red warnings started to disappear. "It's working," Vexnor said, surprise clear in its voice. "The reaction is stabilizing." Frank wiped sweat from his forehead. "We bypassed the main control circuits and created smaller containment fields. It's like putting out a forest fire by dividing it into smaller sections." The aliens stared at the humans. The room was quiet except for the normal hum of the station. "How did you know this would work?" the crystal alien asked. Daniel shrugged. "We didn't, but we've had similar problems with our experimental drives. Sometimes you have to try something new, without calculations, without models," Vexnor asked. "We did the math as we went," Frank said. "Sometimes you have to trust your instincts too." Alice watched the aliens closely. They seemed confused, almost uncomfortable with what had happened. Back. In their quarters, the human officers talked about what they had learned. "Did you see how they reacted?" Paul said. "They were shocked that we solved their problem." Olivia nodded. "And they kept talking about procedures and models. They seemed locked into fixed ways of thinking." Nancy looked thoughtful. "Maybe that's why they were so afraid of humans. We don't follow their rules or fit their predictions." Alice walked around the room, thinking. Their technology is incredible, far beyond ours, but they seem to lack something we take for granted. "Creativity," Frank said. "They have all this amazing tech, but when something unexpected happens, they can only follow preset procedures." "While we make it up as we go along," Daniel added with a smile. A chime sounded, and the door slid open. Vexnor stood there with two other aliens they hadn't seen before. "Captain Bennett, the High Council requests your presence," Vexnor said. The aliens seemed different now, less certain than before. The council chamber was full this time. "Representatives," from dozens of species sat in tiered seats around the room. Admiral Krelvox was there, along with a tall being made of what looked like living crystal. "Captain Bennett," the crystal being said, its voice ringing like bells. "I am Elder Nix Ayla of the Governing Council. We have been observing your interactions with our people." Alice stood straight, facing the alien leaders. "I hope we've shown that humans come in peace." "You have shown us many things," the elder said. "Your engineer solved a problem our best minds could not. He did not follow established protocols, he improvised." The word seemed difficult for the alien to say. "That's what humans do," Alice replied. "We adapt. We find new ways when old ones don't work." Admiral Krelvox spoke next. "For 50,000 years, the hegemony has existed in harmony. We advance through careful research, testing, and consensus. Progress is methodical and safe. While humans leap forward in chaos," Elder Nix Ayla added, "you try things without fully understanding them. You take risks. Your history shows both terrible failures and amazing successes from this approach." Alice nodded. "That's true, we make mistakes, but we learn from them." The elder's crystal form seemed to shine brighter. "This is why our predictive model showed your species as a threat. Every other species that displayed your pattern of development eventually became conquerors. They used their creative thinking for weapons for war." "That's not who we are," Alice said firmly. "At least that's not who we choose to be." "Choice," the elder said, the word ringing in the chamber. "That is another concept our models struggle with. Most species follow predictable paths based on their biology and environment. Humans seem to choose differently, even when all factors suggest you should not." The room was quiet. Alice looked around at the alien faces, all watching her. We're prepared for war with humanity," Admiral Krelvox admitted. "Our fleets were positioned, our weapons ready. And then you arrived. One small ship with no weapons. You offered help when you should have been afraid. You solved problems when you should have been confused by our technology. You defied all predictions," Elder Nix Ayla concluded. Alice felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about the defiance anymore. It was about humanity's first impression on a vast community of alien species. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "your models need to include something new. Something that can't be predicted by math alone." "And what would that be, Captain?" the elder asked. Alice smiled. "Hope, curiosity, friendship, the things that make us look up at the stars and wonder what's out there instead of fearing it." The aliens began to talk among themselves, a strange mixture of sounds filling the chamber. Some seemed upset, others curious. All of them were focused on the small group of humans standing before them. Whatever happened next would change everything, not just for the crew of the Defiance, but for all of humanity. 3 days had passed since the reactor incident. The crew of the Defiance were no longer treated as potential enemies, but as honored guests. They were allowed to move freely around certain parts of the station. Everywhere they went, aliens watched, them with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Captain Alice Bennett sat in a large room that the aliens had set up for human comfort. The chairs were still too big, but at least they had tried. Across from her sat Elder Nix Ayla, the crystal being, who led the Governing Council. "Your crew continues to surprise us," the elder said, light moving through its form as it spoke. "Your science officer has been sharing information with our researchers. He speaks of Earth concepts that many of our people find difficult to understand." Alice smiled. "Paul enjoys teaching. What concepts are causing trouble? Art, music, fiction." The elder's voice changed tone on each word, as if testing them. "These things serve no clear purpose, yet humans devote enormous resources to them. They feed our souls," Alice said. "They help us understand ourselves and each other." The crystal being's light pulsed. "Souls, another concept we struggle with." In another part of the station, Lieutenant Daniel Miller and Chief Engineer Frank Rivera were being given a tour of the hegemony's technology center. The alien guide, a being made of what looked like blue smoke inside a floating metal frame, showed them massive computers and strange devices. This system controls all transportation throughout the station, the guide explained. It has not failed in over 200 years. Frank studied the machine. It's incredible. The precision is amazing. But what? The guide asked. It's also fixed. There's no room for changes or improvements. The guide's smoke form swirled. Why change what works perfectly? Daniel smiled. Because maybe it could work better, or differently, or do new things you haven't thought of yet. The alien seemed confused by this idea. In the medical section, Science Officer Paul Jackson and Communications Officer Nancy Ward were learning about alien biology. The medical officer was a small, round being with 4 arms and skin that changed color as it spoke. We have cataloged the biology of every species in the hegemony, it said proudly. Each species follows clear patterns based on their environment and evolution. Nancy looked at the displays showing different alien forms. But you all look so different. How can you predict patterns across such diversity? Mathematics, the alien said simply. Life follows rules. Once you understand the rules, you can predict everything. Paul shook his head slightly. Not everything. Life finds ways to surprise you. Not in our experience, the alien replied. Meanwhile, Security Chief Olivia Green was invited to observe the hegemony's defense training. She watched as aliens in different forms practiced precise choreographed movements. Your defensive techniques are very structured, she commented to the trainer, a tall 4-armed being with metallic skin. Each move is calculated for maximum efficiency, the trainer explained. These sequences have been perfected over thousands of years. What happens if an enemy does something unexpected? Olivia asked. The trainer paused. Our response protocols cover all possible attack scenarios. Olivia smiled. All of them, really? The trainer didn't answer. That evening, the human officers gathered in their quarters to share what they had learned. They're brilliant, Frank said. Their technology is centuries beyond ours, but they've stopped trying new things. Everything is about following established patterns. Paul nodded. Same with their science. They believe everything can be predicted with enough data. They don't seem to value discovery for its own sake. Their defense systems are the same way, Olivia added. Perfect against known threats, but I'm not sure how they'd handle something truly new. Alice listened carefully. And that's why they feared us. Humans are unpredictable. We don't follow the patterns they expect. We're chaos in their ordered universe, Nancy said. Before they could discuss further, a chime sounded. The door slid open to reveal Vex Nor. Captain Bennett, the Governing Council requests your presence. They have reached a decision regarding humanity. The council chamber was filled again with representatives from dozens of species. Alice stood before them alone this time. She felt small, but stood tall. Elder Nix Ayla spoke first. Captain Bennett, for 7 days we have observed you and your crew. We have analyzed your behavior, studied your responses, and discussed your species at length. Admiral Krelvox joined in. Our initial models predicted that humanity would be a grave threat to the hegemony. Your rapid technological development, your history of conflict, and your unpredictable nature all suggested you would become conquerors. Alice waited patiently. She had learned that aliens often took longer to make their points. However, the elder continued, we have been forced to reconsider. Your actions here have demonstrated qualities our models did not account for. A new alien spoke up. This one was small and delicate-looking with wings like a dragonfly. Your engineer solved a problem our best minds could not through superior knowledge, but through, what is your word? Improvisation. Your science. Officer has shared ideas that challenge thousands of years of our research, said another. He asks questions we never thought to ask. And your security chief identified weaknesses in our defense systems that our own experts missed, added a third. Alice smiled slightly. Olivia had been busy. The elder's crystal form glowed brighter. Most importantly, you offered help when our models predicted you would seek advantage. You showed concern for lives not your own. You demonstrated cooperation rather than competition. The Phi chamber fell silent. All eyes were on Alice. The Governing Council has reached a decision, Elder Nixala announced. We wish to establish formal relations with Earth, not as enemies as we feared, but as potential allies. Alice felt a wave of relief. Earth would welcome that, Elder. There is more, the Elder continued. We would like to propose an exchange. Knowledge, culture, ideas. We have much to teach humanity about the galaxy, but it seems humanity may have something to teach us as well. What might that be? Alice asked, though she suspected the answer. The Elder's voice resonated through the chamber. How to think beyond models and predictions. How to create rather than just preserve. How to imagine what has never been. Alice nodded. We call it innovation, creativity, thinking outside the box. Outside the box, the Elder repeated, clearly finding the phrase strange but meaningful. Yes, for 50,000 years the hegemony has lived inside a very orderly box. Perhaps it is time we looked outside. Admiral Krelvok stood. We will prepare a delegation to return with you to Earth. If your leaders agree, this could be the beginning of a new chapter for both our peoples. As Alice left the chamber, she thought about what this meant. One small ship had changed everything. Not through weapons or power, but through the uniquely human qualities the aliens found so puzzling. Creativity, adaptability, hope. The Defiance had come seeking knowledge. Instead, it had found a galaxy of new possibilities. The Defiance prepared to return to Earth. After 2 weeks at the Hegemony Station, the small human ship was ready for the journey home. But it would not travel alone. A Hegemony vessel would follow, carrying representatives from 12 different alien species. They would be the first official delegation to Earth. Captain Alice Bennett stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Elder Nixala floated beside her, the crystal being's form catching the light. Are you concerned about how your people will react to us? The Elder asked. Alice considered the question. They'll be surprised, shocked even. But humans adapt quickly. As we have learned, the Elder said. Its tone had changed over the past 2 weeks. It sounded less formal now, almost friendly. What about your people? Alice asked. Not everyone in the hegemony seems happy about this new relationship with humans. The Elder's light pulsed slowly. Change is difficult after 50,000 years of stability. Some fear what humanity represents. Others are excited by it. The same qualities that made us fear you now make some of us hope. In the station's large meeting room, the rest of the Defiance's officers were saying goodbye to the aliens they had worked with. Many strange friendships had formed during their stay. Frank and Daniel stood with a group of hegemony engineers. The aliens had been suspicious at first, but after working together on several projects, they had developed respect for the humans' unusual approaches. We have prepared data packages for your scientists, said one of the aliens, a being with metallic skin. Information on our propulsion systems, energy generation, and materials. Frank nodded. Thank you. Earth will be grateful. We've prepared information to share as well, though I'm not sure how useful our technology will be to you. The alien made a sound like wind chimes. It took the humans a moment to realize it was laughing. It is not your technology we are interested in, Frank Rivera. It is how you think about technology. How you, what is your word? Tinker. Daniel smiled. We like to take things apart and put them back together in new ways. Yes, the alien said. This is what we have forgotten how to do. Across the room. Paul was deep in conversation with the hegemony's chief scientist, a floating globe of swirling colors. I have loaded all requested data on Earth's ecosystems, Paul said. But I still don't understand why you're so interested in our planet's life forms. The globe pulsed with green and blue lights. Because they should not exist as they do, according to our models. Earth's ecosystem is too chaotic, too interconnected to be stable. Yet it has survived for billions of years. Paul smiled. Life finds a way. Another human concept we must study. the alien scientist replied. Nancy and Olivia sat, with representatives from the communication and security divisions. They had spent days learning about each other's languages, cultures, and defense systems. I still can't believe you have no word for imagination in your language, Nancy said to one of the aliens. The slender being tilted its head. We had no need for such a concept. We observe, we record, we analyze. We do not create things that do not exist. But now you want to learn, Olivia said. Yes, the alien replied. We must learn if we are to understand humans. At the appointed hour, the crew of the Defiance gathered at their ship. The docking bay was filled with aliens who had come to witness their departure. Some out of curiosity, others out of newfound respect. Admiral Krelvox approached Captain Bennett. The large amphibian being still looked imposing, but its manner had softened. Captain Bennett, it said, when we first detected your ship, we believed we were witnessing the beginning of a war. Instead, it was the beginning of something much more valuable. Alice nodded. I hope this is just the first of many meetings between our peoples. It will be, the Admiral said. The delegation vessel will follow your ship at a distance. We do not wish to cause alarm when you return to Earth. Good thinking, Alice said. One alien ship is enough of a surprise. A whole fleet might give the wrong impression. The Admiral's skin changed color slightly. Alice had learned this was the equivalent of a smile. We have much to learn from each other, Krelvox said. The hegemony has knowledge and technology to share, but humanity has something we lost long ago. What's that? Alice asked. The ability to imagine what could be, rather than only accepting what is. As the crew boarded the Defiance, Elder Nixala approached Alice one last time. There is a question I must ask before you leave, the crystal being said. Our models predicted that humanity would become a threat to the galaxy. Is it possible they were right, just premature? Alice considered the question carefully. Humans can be dangerous. We fight, we compete, we sometimes hurt each other. But we also heal, create, and grow. What we become isn't fixed by any model or prediction. It is a choice, the elder said, using the word that had caused such discussion among the hegemony leaders. Yes, Alice replied, and knowing about the hegemony, about all the life out here among the stars, will shape that choice. Your fear of us might have become a self-fulfilling prophecy, but your willingness to reach out instead might create something better. The elder's light pulsed brightly. Then we have changed each other's futures already. The journey back to Earth took several days. The crew spent the time preparing reports, organizing the data they had collected, and discussing what had happened. Do you think Earth is ready for this? Daniel asked, as they gathered on the bridge for their final approach to home. Ready or not, it's happening, Olivia said. The question is what we'll do with this opportunity. Alice looked at her crew. They had gone looking for unusual energy readings and found a galaxy-spanning civilization. They had been mistaken for an invasion force but had shown the aliens a different path forward. One small ship had changed everything. We'll do what humans have always done, she said. We'll adapt, we'll learn. We'll imagine possibilities no one has thought of yet. Frank smiled. And maybe teach some very old aliens some new tricks. As the Defiance approached Earth, Alice sent a message ahead. The words were simple, but they would change human history forever. Earth Command, this is Captain Bennett of the Defiance. We are returning home with data, discoveries, and guests. Humanity is not alone in the universe, and the universe is eager to meet us. Behind them, at a respectful distance, the massive hegemony ship followed. Its crew watched the small blue planet grow larger on their screens. After 50,000 years of certainty and prediction, they were facing something new and unpredictable. The aliens had waited for a fleet, expecting war. Instead, one ship had brought possibility. One ship had brought hope. One ship had brought the most powerful force in the universe, change, and that had changed everything.